But dude, I saw almost as many Capitalist Pig shirts and hats at that event as I did Funnel Hacking Live one. And I know that's not an accident, right? Like, I know you're smart, but like, how do you work that in so well? Because one of the things I noticed about one of the things that you said was, I am not in the clothing industry, right? I am not a t-shirt company. And
No.
I'm like, you sell more product than most t-shirt companies do, at least to that audience. How did you integrate it so well? I assume it has to do more with the messaging and the meaning behind it than it actually does the quality of the shirt or anything like that. But like, how did you pull that off?
I mean, I always want the quality of the shirts and things like that to be nice, but yeah, you're right. It has almost nothing to do with that. It was honestly going back to when I was studying to become an officer in the Army, and I had, and I mean, I told you this story, but I guess for everybody else, you know, I was trying to become an officer, and we was a whole semester where we just studied wars and lots of wars. And I always have to caveat this because anytime I've told this, so there's always some historian who's like, did you, trying to fact check me. So just hear the principle, everybody. All right. Just hear the principle. Don't try and fact check me too much on this here, but we started studying all these battles and all these wars and why they started and the politics behind them and the cultures behind them and all this. It was really fascinating, which is what you really have to do to understand history. You can't just study one part of it. So this semester ends. We are finishing studying these wars and these battle tactics and maneuvers commanders made and all this stuff. And this guy who's just one of the most brilliant people I've ever met, he sits back and he just makes this kind of off the hand comment. He goes, it's just so funny. He had been doing it for years and for a very long time. And he goes, it's so funny. Wars just don't really start over social issues. They start over rights and a violation of rights. And he goes, if you look at the American Revolution, a lot of times it's romanticized that we left Great Britain because of religious oppression, which is total garbage. Like, we were Britons, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
We were British. We were waiting for the ships to bring over their fashions. What's the Queen wearing now? Like, we were just expanding Britain. It's just so crazy. So we look back and we often romanticize a social issue as the cause of a war. And I started thinking about that. I was like, oh man, wars are started over rights, not social issues, but what's a social issue? And I started thinking.
And I think, and I don't want to interrupt you, but like, I think right there is it's an interesting question, because you say rights versus social issues. I don't think a lot of people know what social issues are, right? Like, they're like, or they don't know how to differentiate them from, say a right or whatever. And so I think you've done a really good job. I'm going to let you finish the story, but I want to dive into that a little bit further.
Yeah. I started realizing that these social issues that are out there are issues that everybody's talking about. There's so much momentum and noise behind them. Momentum that would take me a lifetime to create if I tried to do it on my own. So I was like, well, I can either create noise or I could just align with where noise already is, which is like what a marketer really does, know? And so I realized, like, this whole movement, I mean, there's a lot of noise right now around capitalism versus socialism, and I decided to attach to capitalism,
Why?
and just take a stand.
Like, why capitalism?
I don't think the government should take care of me, even if I need it. And that's not throwing rocks at anyone who's chosen to do that. I know that there's really dire scenarios, but I just think I've been in some scenarios in life where people just straight up take advantage of the system and are lazy and are leeches. And I don't think it's just like not good. I think it's bad, to do that.